Benjamin Lefty Ruggiero was not tall, not rich, and not powerful at first glance, but inside New York's Mafia world, his name carried fear. He was known as a man who followed orders without hesitation. Lefty grew up believing violence was normal. He learned early that loyalty mattered more than kindness. By adulthood, he had accepted that crime was his life. Unlike flashy gangsters, Lefty stayed quiet. That made him dangerous. He was the kind of man who did not brag, did not hesitate, and did not ask questions. In the Mafia, those qualities made him valuable. Lefty was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, an area controlled by powerful Mafia families. Crime was everywhere: gambling, loan sharking, extortion, and street violence. As a young man, he watched older gangsters earn respect through fear. Police were seen as enemies. The Mafia was seen as family. This environment shaped Lefty's thinking. He believed that the law was something to beat, not obey. By his teenage years, he was already running errands for mob-connected figures. Each small task pulled him deeper into organized crime. Before becoming a hitman, Lefty started with low-level crimes. He helped with illegal gambling operations, collected money from debtors, and acted as muscle during disputes. These jobs were dangerous but necessary. They proved his loyalty. Lefty showed he could be trusted to keep quiet and handle pressure. He never backed down during confrontations. Over time, his reputation grew. Senior mobsters noticed that he never panicked and never talked. This reliability opened the door to more serious crimes. Lefty eventually became associated with the Bonanno crime family, one of New York's 5 families. The Bonannos were involved in drug trafficking, murder, extortion, and racketeering. Joining them was not official at first. Lefty worked under made men, following strict rules. He learned Mafia codes: never cooperate with police, never disrespect leadership, and always protect the family's interests. His loyalty earned him protection, but also deeper involvement in violent crime. As Lefty proved himself, he became more than just a street thug. He was trusted with enforcement work. This meant threatening people, beating them, or worse. If someone refused to pay debts or disrespected the family, Lefty was sent. He developed a reputation for being ruthless but controlled. He did not enjoy violence, but he did not avoid it either. To him, it was just business. This mindset made him useful to higher-ranking mobsters. Lefty's role eventually included murder. He was not a planner, he was an executor. When orders came down, he followed them. Targets were usually rivals, informants, or people who became liabilities. Lefty understood that refusing an order could mean his own death. Each killing weighed on him, but he buried his emotions. In the Mafia, hesitation was weakness. Over time, the violence hardened him and isolated him from normal life. Despite his loyalty and dangerous work, Lefty remained poor. He lived in small apartments and struggled financially. This was common for low-ranking soldiers. The bosses made millions, while men like Lefty took the risks. This created frustration. He felt used but trapped. Leaving the Mafia was impossible. Speaking out meant death. Lefty accepted his role, even as it destroyed his personal life. Everything changed when Lefty met Donnie Brasco, who claimed to be a jewel thief. Lefty took him under his wing, believing he was mentoring a future mobster. In reality, Brasco was FBI agent Joseph Pistone. Lefty trusted him completely. He introduced Brasco to criminals, vouched for him, and shared secrets. This relationship would later destroy the Bonanno family and Lefty himself. Lefty's biggest mistake was loyalty. He believed in Mafia brotherhood and trusted Donnie Brasco like a son. He never suspected the truth. Brasco observed crimes, recorded conversations, and gathered evidence. Every secret Lefty shared became a weapon against him. The FBI slowly built one of the largest Mafia cases in history, all through Lefty's trust. Before the FBI exposed Brasco, Lefty believed his life was improving. He thought his loyalty would finally be rewarded. Instead, he was standing at the edge of disaster. The Bonanno family was already under investigation. Lefty did not know that his name would soon be associated with one of the greatest mafia betrayals ever uncovered. Lefty believed loyalty was everything. In the mafia, loyalty meant survival. He had grown up watching men disappear for talking too much or questioning orders. This belief shaped every decision he made. Even when he doubted his bosses, he stayed silent. Even when money was tight, he never complained. Loyalty to Lefty was his only shield. Unfortunately, it would also become the reason for his downfall. Lefty treated Donnie Brasco like a student. He taught him how to talk, how to walk, and how to show respect. He warned Brasco never to speak to police, never to mention crimes, and never to disrespect made men. Ironically, every lesson he taught helped the FBI understand mafia culture better. Lefty unknowingly became an instructor for his own destruction. Lefty introduced Donnie Brasco to real killers and mob bosses. Names like Sonny Black Napolitano, Dominic Sonny Red Indalitico, and Bruno Indalitico entered Brasco's world through Lefty. Each introduction gave the FBI direct access to high-level criminals. Lefty believed he was proving his usefulness to the family. In reality, he was opening doors that should have stayed closed forever. At the time, the Bonanno family was unstable. Leadership struggles caused violence and paranoia. Men were being killed over power disputes. Lefty was caught in the middle, forced to follow orders without knowing the full picture. This chaos made it easier for Donnie Brasco to blend in. No one trusted anyone fully, which allowed an FBI agent to hide in plain sight. Lefty became involved in heroin and cocaine discussions, even though drugs were officially forbidden. The truth was that many mafia members secretly profited from narcotics. Lefty helped arrange meetings and protect deals. These drug crimes carried heavy prison sentences. Every conversation Donnie Brasco recorded became devastating evidence. Lefty did not realize he was confessing his crimes into history. One of Lefty's main duties was collecting money. He enforced loan sharking payments using threats and violence. Victims feared him because he always followed through. Broken bones, destroyed businesses, and intimidation were common tools. These crimes funded higher-ranking mobsters while exposing Lefty to legal danger. Still, he believed this was his role in the mafia hierarchy. Unlike Hollywood portrayals, Lefty's violence brought no fame. There were no celebrations after attacks, only stress, paranoia, and guilt. He lived with constant fear of arrest or execution by his own family. Every knock on the door made his heart race. His life became a prison long before any jail cell. Despite years of loyalty, Lefty was repeatedly passed over for promotion. Younger men with better connections moved ahead. This hurt him deeply. Becoming a made man would have given him protection and respect. Instead, he remained disposable. This emotional pain made him cling even tighter to Donnie Brasco, believing their partnership might change his fate. As Brasco rose in status, Lefty felt proud. He believed he had created a successful mobster. He did not realize the FBI was now accessing meetings, plans, and rivalries. Brasco's rise increased the damage. Lefty continued to vouch for him, risking his own life unknowingly. Secret meetings once thought safe were now compromised. The FBI recorded conversations about murders, drug deals, and internal disputes. Lefty spoke freely, trusting the wrong man. These recordings would later send dozens of mafia members to prison. Lefty's voice became evidence against his own world. Rumors began to spread. Someone was talking. Arrests increased. Lefty sensed danger but could not see the truth. He suspected rivals, not his closest ally. Paranoia filled the streets. Men watched each other carefully. In this atmosphere, mistakes were deadly. Lefty worried constantly about being framed or killed by his own family. He began sleeping poorly and drinking more. Stress took control of his life. He felt trapped between loyalty and survival. Leaving the mafia was impossible. Speaking out meant death. Lefty accepted his role. even as it destroyed his personal life. When the FBI finally removed Donnie Brasco from undercover work, Lefty was left exposed. He had no explanation for Brasco's disappearance. This raised immediate suspicion. In the Mafia logic, unexplained disappearances usually meant betrayal. Lefty was now a marked man. When the truth came out, Lefty was shattered. The man he trusted most was an FBI agent. Every conversation replayed in his mind. Every secret shared felt like a knife. His loyalty had been used against him. This realization broke him emotionally. The Bonanno leadership distanced themselves from Lefty. He was seen as a liability. In Mafia logic, someone close to an informant must be punished. Lefty knew what this meant. Execution was likely. Fear consumed him. Lefty was arrested and charged with multiple crimes: extortion, conspiracy, racketeering, and murder-related offenses. The evidence was overwhelming. Recorded conversations destroyed any chance of denial. The Mafia code of silence now worked against him. Ironically, prison saved Lefty's life. Behind bars, the Mafia could not easily reach him. Still, incarceration was brutal. He faced decades in prison. His loyalty brought him nothing but a cell. Unlike others, Lefty refused to cooperate with authorities. Even after betrayal, he stayed silent. This decision showed how deeply Mafia values controlled him. Cooperation could have reduced his sentence, but it would have violated everything he believed in. Prison stripped Lefty of identity. He was no longer feared. He was just another inmate. Time passed slowly. Regret replaced ambition. His life became a lesson in misplaced loyalty. Lefty was used by the Mafia and the FBI. One exploited his loyalty, the other exploited his trust. In the end, he belonged nowhere. His story became one of tragedy, not triumph. Lefty was sentenced to long-term federal prison. The judge described him as a loyal foot soldier of organized crime. There was no sympathy in the courtroom. Years of violence, intimidation, and silence finally caught up with him. Lefty showed no emotion. He had already accepted his fate. For a man who lived by Mafia rules, prison was the final consequence. Once imprisoned, Lefty was forgotten by the Bonanno family. No money was sent, no protection was arranged. This was common in the Mafia. When a soldier becomes a liability, he is erased. Lefty realized too late that loyalty only worked one way. The family he protected had moved on. Inside prison, Lefty had time to think. He replayed his choices again and again. Trusting Donnie haunted him, but deeper regret came from his life of crime. He had sacrificed family, freedom, and peace for an organization that discarded him. These thoughts followed him every night. Other prisoners knew Lefty's story. Some respected him for not cooperating, others saw him as foolish. In prison culture, silence mattered, but survival mattered more. Lefty kept to himself. Violence still surrounded him, but now he had no power. Years of stress, betrayal, and confinement damaged Lefty mentally. He suffered anxiety and depression. The tough gangster image faded. He became a tired man, worn down by decades of fear. The Mafia life promised respect, but delivered only suffering. As time passed, Lefty's health declined. Poor prison conditions, age, and stress took their toll. He developed heart and breathing problems. The same man who once terrified others now struggled to walk long distances. From prison, Lefty learned about other arrests and convictions. Many Bonanno members were sentenced using evidence from Donnie Brasco's operation. Entire crews were destroyed. Lefty realized the undercover operation had permanently weakened the Mafia. Lefty learned that Sonny Black Napolitano, another victim of the Donnie Brasco case, was murdered by the Mafia. Sonny Black had trusted Brasco, just like Lefty. This confirmed Lefty's belief that execution would have been his fate outside prison. Lefty's refusal to cooperate meant a longer sentence and no early release. Some inmates advised him to talk. He refused. To him, breaking the Mafia code was worse than dying in prison. This decision defined his final years. Lefty rarely received visitors. His criminal life had pushed everyone away. Family connections were weak. Friends were gone. Prison isolation mirrored the emotional isolation he had lived with for years. The release of Donnie Brasco brought Lefty's story to the world. Actor Al Pacino portrayed him as a tragic, broken man. While the film gained praise, Lefty remained imprisoned, watching others profit from his pain. Lefty reportedly saw parts of the movie. Watching his life dramatized was painful. The public saw him as a victim, but Lefty knew the truth. He chose this life. No movie could erase the crimes he committed. Hollywood softened some truths. Lefty was not just a victim, he was a violent criminal. He extorted, threatened, and helped plan murders. Prison forced him to face this reality without excuses. Even in prison, Lefty followed Mafia rules. He avoided guards, stayed silent, and respected old hierarchies. This showed how deeply indoctrinated he was. Crime shaped his identity beyond repair. As years passed, hope faded. Appeals failed. Early release became unlikely. Lefty accepted that prison would likely be his final home. This acceptance brought a strange calm. Lefty spent his final years quietly. No violence, no ambition, just routine. Meals, counts, sleep. The dangerous world he once knew felt like another lifetime. Benjamin Lefty Ruggiero died in prison in 1994. There was no funeral attended by mob bosses, no honor, no speeches, just an inmate number removed from the system. Lefty's story became a warning. Loyalty to criminals brings no protection. Crime promises brotherhood, but delivers betrayal. His life showed how easily a man can be used and discarded. The Donnie Brasco operation remains one of the FBI's most successful undercover missions. It destroyed careers, families, and lives, including Lefty's. He was both criminal and casualty. Lefty Ruggiero is remembered not as a boss, but as a tragic soldier, loyal, violent, and ultimately expendable. His life ended where it began, controlled by forces bigger than himself. Lefty was the perfect Mafia soldier. He asked no questions and followed orders without hesitation. The Mafia relied on men like him to do dirty work while bosses stayed protected. This system kept leaders safe, but destroyed the lives of foot soldiers. Lefty never realized this truth until it was too late. Fear controlled Lefty's entire life. Fear of bosses, fear of enemies, fear of betrayal, fear of prison. Even at home, he lived cautiously. The Mafia taught him that fear was strength, but it slowly consumed him. Lefty was involved in countless violent acts, assaults, intimidation, and murder planning. Even when he didn't pull the trigger, his presence meant death was close. Violence followed him like a shadow, shaping his reputation and sealing his fate. The Mafia sold the idea of brotherhood. In reality, it was business. Loyalty only mattered when it benefited those in power. Lefty believed in brotherhood until prison taught him the truth. Brotherhood ends when usefulness ends. Lefty drank heavily. Alcohol helped him sleep, but worsened his judgment. Many Mafia members struggled with addiction. Drinking blurred the lines between caution and recklessness, making Lefty easier to manipulate. The FBI didn't just gather evidence, they studied emotions. Donnie Brasco exploited Lefty's loneliness and need for respect. This psychological manipulation was more powerful than force. Lefty never stood a chance against it. In the Mafia, trust is rare. Lefty trusted Brasco more than anyone. That trust gave the FBI access to secrets, meetings, and criminal plans. Trust, something Lefty believed was strength, became his greatest weakness. Lefty unknowingly provided evidence through conversations, introductions, and planning crimes. Each act strengthened the government's case. By the time arrests came, the evidence was overwhelming. The Donnie Brasco infiltration shattered the Bonanno family. Leaders were exposed, crews were arrested, trust inside the organization collapsed. Lefty's involvement became a symbol of how deeply the Mafia had been penetrated. No empire, no wealth, no successors, only cautionary lessons. His life showed that not all gangsters die rich or respected. Many die forgotten. Lefty's criminal life affected his family deeply. Financial instability, emotional distance, and public shame followed them. Mafia families often paid the highest price while receiving no reward. In prison, Lefty saw younger criminals rise and fall quickly. The streets had moved on. The Mafia didn't wait. This reinforced how replaceable he always was. Lefty never cooperated with authorities. He kept the Mafia code until death, yet the Mafia never repaid him. This imbalance defined his entire life. When Lefty died, there were no headlines, no Mafia owners, just silence. The organization that demanded silence from him returned the favor in death. The FBI now studies Lefty's case in training programs. His mistakes teach agents how to exploit criminal psychology. Even in death, he served law enforcement, not by choice. Prison stripped Lefty of his Mafia identity. No titles, no authority, just a man serving time. This loss of identity was one of his greatest punishments. Lefty often compared himself to bosses who avoided prison. This comparison deepened his regret. He realized intelligence, not loyalty, was what kept others free. Lefty believed fear equaled respect. Prison taught him otherwise. Respect earned through fear disappears quickly. True respect is rare and lasting, something he never had. Every mistake Lefty made came with consequences, violence, prison, betrayal. His life became a series of lessons written in blood, not wisdom. In the end, Lefty accepted responsibility. He wasn't framed. He wasn't unlucky. He chose crime. Those choices led directly to prison and death. Lefty lived by the Mafia code: silence, obedience, loyalty. This code promised protection and respect, but in reality, it offered none. The code protected bosses, not soldiers. By obeying it until the end, Lefty sacrificed his own future without gaining anything in return. The Mafia calls itself a family, but it is not one. Families protect their weakest members. The Mafia discards them. Lefty realized too late that the family only cared about profit and survival, not about him as a person. Lefty's job was intimidation and violence. He enforced rules through fear. Debtors paid because they feared him. Rivals stayed silent because they feared him. This reputation kept him useful, but also trapped him permanently in danger. Unlike movie gangsters, Lefty's violence brought no glory, no fame, no rewards, only stress, paranoia, and enemies. Every violent act made his life shorter and more dangerous. On the streets, Lefty was known as reliable, but unlucky. He wasn't feared like bosses or admired like earners. He was respected just enough to be used. Years of crime damaged Lefty mentally. He suffered anxiety, insomnia, and emotional isolation. He never trusted anyone fully, yet desperately needed connection. Lefty saw other mobsters flip and cooperate with the government. Each betrayal increased paranoia. Yet he never considered cooperation himself. He believed silence was his only honor. Prison was not a temporary setback. It became Lefty's final home. The streets moved on without him. The Mafia adapted. He was left behind. Unlike Lefty, Donnie Brasco had an exit plan. The FBI protected him. Lefty had no protection. This contrast shows the imbalance of power between law enforcement and street-level criminals. The Bonanno family quietly blamed Lefty for the infiltration. They never publicly defended him. Silence was their verdict. New mob recruits were warned, "Don't be another Lefty." His story became a lesson in what happens when trust overrides caution. Bosses had bodyguards, money, and influence. Soldiers like Lefty had fear and loneliness. This loneliness made him vulnerable to manipulation. Lefty was never made a captain or boss. His role was execution, not leadership. The Mafia kept him where he was most useful and most disposable. Despite decades in crime, Lefty died with little money. Most profits went upward. Soldiers stayed poor. Movies romanticized his life, but reality was grim. No glamour, no luxury, only fear and prison bars. The Donnie Brasco case caused massive arrests. Leadership collapsed, trust disappeared. The Bonanno family never fully recovered. Lefty died in prison. No Mafia funeral, no honors, just another inmate lost to time. Lefty enforced a system that eventually destroyed him. He was both criminal and victim. Lefty's story exposes the truth behind organized crime. It is not loyalty, it is exploitation. Behind the tough image was a broken man seeking belonging. That need led him into crime and kept him there. Lefty spent his final years inside federal prison, far away from the streets he once ruled in fear. Prison stripped him of identity. He was no longer a soldier, no longer respected, just an aging inmate with failing health. The Mafia did not visit him. The family he served disappeared completely. No legal help came from the Bonannos, no financial support, no protection. This silence confirmed what Lefty feared most. Once you are no longer useful, the Mafia erases you. Even in prison, the Donnie Brasco betrayal haunted him. Guards mocked him, other inmates reminded him. He became known as the guy who got fooled. That humiliation hurt more than prison itself. Years of stress, smoking, poor food, and violence caught up with him. His body weakened. Prison doctors treated him, but the damage was permanent. Crime had stolen not only his freedom, but his health. Lefty felt regret, not for the crimes, but for trusting the wrong people. He believed if Donnie had been real, his life would have meant something. Instead, it proved meaningless. For the FBI, Lefty was collateral damage. Their mission succeeded. They dismantled a Mafia family. What happened to Lefty afterward no longer mattered. After Donnie Brasco, the Mafia tightened recruitment rules. Background checks became stricter. Outsiders were viewed with extreme suspicion. Lefty's failure reshaped Mafia security forever. Law enforcement used Lefty's story as a lesson, how undercover work penetrates criminal organizations. He became a case study, not a man. The streets moved on quickly. New soldiers replaced him, new schemes formed. His name faded from daily criminal conversations. In 1994, Benjamin Ruggiero died behind bars. No headlines, no ceremony, just another inmate erased from the system. There was no Mafia funeral, no tribute, no respect paid. His death was quiet, just like how the Mafia wanted. Lefty stayed loyal to the end. That loyalty earned him nothing. His story exposes the Mafia's biggest lie. Loyalty is only demanded, never returned. Lefty did the dirty work, he took risks, he enforced rules, yet he never gained power, wealth, or safety. Foot soldiers suffer the worst consequences. Bosses hide behind lawyers. Soldiers go to prison and die forgotten. The movie Donnie Brasco gave Lefty fame, but not truth. Audiences felt sympathy, yet few understood how cruel his real ending was. The film showed Lefty as emotional and tragic. Reality was colder, lonelier, and more humiliating. Lefty's greatest weakness wasn't violence, it was trust. In a world built on lies, trust was fatal. Lefty represents the decline of old-school Mafia values. Silence no longer protected anyone. Power shifted to informants and technology. His life teaches a brutal lesson. Crime offers power, but takes everything else.